microwave for you or the oil, they annoy you. You add another snick for the wrong reasons. Election years now seeming like full-blown seasons.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Let us talk about NWA Hard Times Daddy. Hard Times 2, which is a show that if you did not watch it, you likely didn't miss anything. There was no major changes, but there was some really cool stuff that took place on this show. So the pre-show was an introductory junior heavyweight gauntlet. So they're having a junior heavyweight division, which was created during the original incarnation of the NWA. It was one of the only 2 titles that was that was created during the early days of the NWA. There was only 2 titles. There was a world heavyweight champion and a junior heavyweight champion. The women's division was considered, a sideshow. Same thing with tag teams. So there was never any official NWA tag team champions. There was only certain promotions had their version of the NWA tag team title. Same thing with the women's division. The women's division was owned essentially by, whoever was owned the belt. So it was Moolah for most of the run. She owned the physical belt, therefore she owned the bookings and all that kind of stuff because she was in control of the women's wrestling at the time. So there was only 2 championships where NWA was created, and now they're bringing back the junior heavyweight title. So this Rumble Scrum thing that they were creating, the purpose of this thing was to give somebody a spot, I believe, at a tournament. Homicide wins this spot. So Homicide is going to be the junior heavyweight thing. Ought to be fine. Ricky Morton was in here. I think his grandson was in this, or his son. I don't remember. The kid's name was Kerry Morton. I want to say it was his grandson, but it could very well be his son. Who knows? So that was cool. He was the last kid eliminated. It was a 12-man thing. It's always good to see Ricky Morton hanging around, as long as he's not doing weird stuff like he was doing with Effie. So Nick Aldis cut a promo on the pre-show where he talked about the NWA being the place that alleges to have a resurgence and where people can prove that they're the best. And he opened all these doors for Tom Latimer because Tom Latimer deserved it. But now Tom Latimer deserves an ass whooping, and he gonna get it. So that made me excited for that match. We opened the show with a promo from Trevor Murdoch, who talked about Mike Knox attacking him in the cage and him having to explain to his son what happened and why this happened. And I'm not sure why it happened. I'm not sure at all why it happened. Why did it happen? It just kept being, you know what you did. I was kind of like, do I? Did he shit in your bag? Steal your wife? What did he do? He didn't pay his half of trans. I mean, what the hell happened? Since I don't care about this match and nobody else does either, because Mike Knox has not drawn an audience, Trevor Murdoch wins in a match that I was largely bored with. Trevor Murdoch is literally an okay champion. The story got him to this point. The story cannot maintain the run. Of course, we got to get something fresh, and I think they did. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But Mike Knox is indistinguishable from Luke Gallows. If you order Luke Gallows on Amazon and you got a package, and you opened it and it was Mike Knox, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. It's not even a Wish version of Luke Gallows. It's literally Luke Gallows without the tattoos. You probably wouldn't even notice it unless you were really, really, really paying attention. So after the match, after Trevor Murdoch wins, Matt Cardona comes out there. And I was like, okay, what are they doing? So Matt Cardona comes out there and he's quote unquote congratulating Trevor Murdoch on his win. Then Mike Knox hits Trevor Murdoch in the nuts from behind. They're booing Matt Cardona just for being out there. Really, he hadn't even done anything yet. Then they fight, and then Matt Cardona jumps Trevor Murdoch from behind. A cowardly attack. They stomped him out. Then Matt Cardona lifted the NWA World Title and then placed it on the stomach, the very wide stomach of Trevor Murdoch. Santa Mick, who had been out there, Mick Foley, made an appearance. Mick Foley his appearance was pretty simple. He didn't really say or do anything that was controversial. He basically just told a story about, his experience with the NWA. 30 years he came there to do, his cactus elbow off the ring apron, and his conversation with Arn Anderson, when Arn Anderson said he has no sense, and he says, "No, I have no dollars." So, that's basically all he did. He didn't really, change up anything. But at this particular point in time, he says that Matt Cardona sucks and is an embarrassment to Long Island. And then Pope ran out there to attack Mike Knox, and they beat him up too. So, interesting stuff, man. I should have known Matt Cardona was coming in because Chelsea Green works NWA. It's a good spot for Matt. Matt coming in as a heel. They seem to be doing something far more interesting with him in NWA already than he's been doing in Impact. Again, he's still bland babyface, always ready in Impact. Everywhere else, he's trying to at least do cool shit. It's like Impact. What the fuck? This is the problem with working in multiple promotions, is you get shown up. Now these guys are clearly showing you up. They're clearly looking at you saying, these guys have made him the, quote, deathmatch king or whatever. And these guys are now introducing him with a heavy, Mike Knox, and saying, there's more to that story. They're teasing him being the world champion. And your thing is, you got him in that spot, but he's been in that company for a year, and there's no interest in seeing him go anywhere. I mean, he's an also-ran, but we don't know, whatever. I like that Matt Cardona's in the NWA. I think it's great. I think it's very cool, actually. So the first match on the show officially was Red Titus of Ring of Honor fame versus Austin Aries. This was a junior heavyweight title qualifier. This was a wrestler match between two wrestler guys. Red Titus, it has the charisma of an empty notebook. Of course, he's just a wrestling guy. And Austin Aries, despite the fact that he is very controversial, he hasn't done anything that got him canceled completely. I'm sure the people who are not watching NWA will continue to not watch NWA, so booking Austin Aries shouldn't be a problem. If you ask the question, why would anybody have a problem with Austin Aries? You might want to look up Austin Aries' Twitter account. So, I'm just saying. At this point, I am told that the NWA is going to have a second show called NWA USA, where they will be featuring the junior heavyweight division. And I was like, I don't know. They run episodes of Powerrr, and then they still, between the season, they have these filler Power Surge episodes. I would think you would need to have straight up fresh content every week in order to then support a second show. But then again, at the same time, I don't know who they plan to bring in when, I guess, Ring of Honor goes under, because eventually that's going to happen. Or at least they're going to not function the way that they're functioning now. And maybe that's the plan, is Corgan's going to bring in quite a few people and start spending some cash. If that's going to be the case, then maybe, we'll see. In any event, Austin Aries wins the match with the Brain Buster. It was fine. It was a good match. So if these guys both stick around, there'll be good pickups for Ring of Honor, for NWA. The second match, Aaron Stevens and Kratos versus the OGK for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. So the OGK win, of course, because they're not about to lose Ring of Honor's tag team titles. During the match, though, Aaron Stevens kind of snapped. He got upset. He started yelling about how this is the best he's ever been. It seems that Kratos has finally pushed him to that point where he's starting to act up. And That's perfectly fine, I guess. That's all right. Not a big fan of the OGK. Matt Taven is Matt Taven, and Mike Bennett is Mrs. Mr. Maria Kanellis. So I'm not a fan of either one of those guys. The third match, Colby Corino defeats Doug Williams with a Mahasal Cradle, which I was very surprised by. Of course, they talked about Doug Williams being a tag team champion in TNA with Nick Aldis during the British invasion. I expect them to do a storyline together, especially since the Tom Latimer thing doesn't seem to be over yet. We'll talk about that in a moment. So, Colby Corino actually beating Doug Williams surprised me. I think maybe Doug Williams actually literally got hurt in this match. So, Colby Corino gets a big win. Interesting. Fourth match, and to me, the best match on the show, Mickie James versus Kiera Hogan for the Impact Knockouts Championship. So they built this thing as a teacher versus student match. It was very technical. A very face versus face dynamic. So because Kiera has been teasing her heel turn, but she hasn't actually turned yet. So, but they did a good job of showing her frustration as she was getting out wrestled early. Mickie was showing her agility and her technical skills. She was doing cartwheels and kip ups and all kinds of stuff. Just showing that, all that stuff that everybody's talking about her being old and washed up. It wasn't true. It wasn't true. Mickie still got it. And Kiera Hogan was, taking some cheap shots, kicking a little harder than usual, hitting a little harder than usual, but no, not out and out cheating. In the end, Mickie James ended up winning, and they hugged before the match started, and they hugged afterwards. This is the second time Mickie James has defeated Kiera Hogan. The heel turn is coming. It is coming. Should be fun when it actually happens. Fifth match on the show made me want to pitch myself down a flight of stairs. It was Cyan, the Masked Man, versus Titus in a no time limit, no disqualification television title match. With the Pope as a referee. So they triple gimmicked this thing. Quadruple gimmicked it. It's already a gimmick because it's a TV title. But then no time limit on the TV title. No disqualifications. And special guest referee. Wow. I mean, you talk about hats on hats. They're as gimmicked up as early days DDP when he had the cigar and the pink caddy and the gold rings and everything. It's like this shit is gaudy at this point. So Pope did something that was very smart. He ejected Austin Idol and all of the goons early. He got rid of all of them, told them all to get out of here. Then Austin Idol came back, and because he's the official manager of Titus. So Cyan is being very aggressive, kicking his ass, if we're being honest. Titus is a big lump of shit, who has about as much agility as late stage Andre the Giant. He's awful. Then all of a sudden, all of these guys start to come back. All the guys, because the match was no disqualification. So he ejected them. But what did that mean? Because since you can't disqualify them for just coming back. So they all just came back. They beat up on Cyan. Titus got into the face of Pope. They did this because, of course, Titus won the title from Pope. All right, cool. They did a thing where Titus got Pope to fight him. Pope pushed and pushed and pushed, punched him, and then Titus fell in the corner. He couldn't see because Titus is so ungodly wide. He didn't see that Cyan was behind Titus in the corner. So Pope decides to go overboard and do the Elijah Express. He does it, which is the running knees. He does the running knees, and Titus, for some, I can't believe he actually moved in time. And of course, that means Cyan got crushed with the Elijah Express. Then Titus hit the heart punch on him, and then Pope did the Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam 97 3 count with the 1, 2, 3, and then the sad pouting, like, man, I can't believe I did this. So Titus wins. This was awful, of course. This was tragedy, and it was overbooked. They're trying to book around Titus. I don't. Oh boy, he sucks. He sucks really bad. Having Pope cost Cyan the match is an interesting angle because now, of course, you have distracted Sion. He's not going to be chasing the title anymore. He's going to be going after the Pope. So, okay, fine. But then they did the thing with Pope later where he was embroiled in this thing with Matt Cardona and Mike Knox. So I'm very interested in that. And I know that Mike Knox and Pope were in ECW together. And I believe wasn't Matt Cardona on that show too? They might have all been on ECW together. I don't know if Trevor Murdoch was though. Whatever. All I know is I'm just glad, very, very glad that I don't have to watch Titus anymore. Okay? He's awful. Judas versus Chris Adonis for the national title. This was heel versus heel. And this match also was sucked because Judas is garbage. Okay? Chris Adonis is much better than he used to be, but you give him slugs to work with. Judas is garbage. I don't know why we're doing this. Why not give Chris Adonis somebody who might even, be somewhat over? Judas is not over. He's not interesting. And this match had no story. This should have been on the pre-show, if we're being honest. This match sucked. At least Adonis won. So now we can move on. The seventh match, The End versus La Rebellion for the NWA Tag Team Championships. I like this match. I like Odison and Pero. Pero is a little stiff. Odison, I don't mean by stiff. I don't mean stiff in the way that Vader is stiff or Stan Hansen. I mean stiff as in his upper body is big and his legs are skinny, and it takes him a while to move around. That's what I mean. But Odison is very explosive, and I really enjoyed watching him in this match. He was pretty good. Pero has been good in matches before, but I don't know. Maybe he's gained some weight. They don't work that often in NWA, I believe. So, La Rebellion, of course, used high-flying moves and, basically Lucha Libre in order to score the win. This was pretty good. No problem here. I thought this match was good, too. After the match, though, there was some intrigue because JTG appeared, and next to his side was our boy Dirty Dango, in other words, Fandango from NXT. He's out there to stare down La Rebellion. And they, of course, built this tag team based off the idea that JTG and Fandango were in NXT together and that they were old friends or something like that. I was like, okay, so NWA is, they're starting to make a play. Maybe, Tyler Breeze will show up. Maybe. The eighth match on the show, Nick Aldis versus Tom Latimer. I enjoyed this match, but I didn't think this was this wasn't the match they should have had, if we're being honest. What I particularly loved was the video package that they showed earlier. There was a video package where it was a video of Aldis' son's birthday, and there's a camera, and you see the person recording, and you think that the person holding the camera is Tom Latimer. But it's not, because the camera moves over, and it's Tom Latimer on the other side of the room with the camera, recording and smiling. And he's so happy. I wish I could remember Nick Aldis' son's name, but he was smiling at the birthday party. And so it was like there were people, you see Tom Latimer being like really happy. And they go into the regular promo package where Tom Latimer talks about how he deserves all of these great things that Nick Aldis always ends up getting. So I thought that was fantastic. And they went out there and had a hell of a wrestling match, but it was a wrestling match. So they handcuffed them with this rule here. If either one of these guys got disqualified, both would be suspended for 2 months. Okay, that's a good rule. I don't mind that rule. But they went out there and wrestled when they should have been having a fight, right? There should have been two guys. If there was any time to do the Takayama Don Fry segment, this was the time to do it. Where they should have just started the bell and just started banging each other in the head, and that was it, for like 2 minutes. Until somebody, flopped on the ground, which should have been, of course, Latimer, and rolled outside of the ring. But the match ends in a jackknife pin. you would think that Nick Aldis would want to win something and win this match in a way that was more satisfying and more definitive. But this feud is clearly not over. They're playing the long game with this one, which is fine. I think it was good for a first match in the feud. I'm seeing, need to see how Latimer is going to bounce back and up the ante from this point on. But I certainly don't think it reached my expectations, but it was still not bad. It was still pretty good. They did a jazz celebration where she got to talk about her 25 years in the business. She retired, I believe, earlier in 2021. She thanked God, and everyone who gave her a platform, including WWE, even though, she filed that lawsuit against them. She thanked WWE for letting her be the last WWF Women's Champion, the first WWE Women's Champion, the first black woman to perform at WrestleMania as the champion and retain. She thanked Paul Heyman for giving her a chance in ECW and for telling her she got all the TNA that she need, but TNA didn't mean tits and ass, it meant talent and ability. She thanked Billy Corgan for trusting her to be the women's champion for 900 days. And she thanked Rodney Mack for being at her side the entire time. It was all very sweet, all very professional. At least from what I saw, I did kind of walk away, so I don't know what happened afterwards. Maybe she got jumped by somebody or something like that, but I didn't see it. And it was not referenced later, so I'm guessing it was just a really cool moment where she got to sit and talk in front of the crowd. And Jazz rules, man. Jazz was awesome. Jazz was awesome. She should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. And I know she filed that funky, stupid fucking lawsuit. She got roped in there with a bunch of other people. She definitely needs to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. And they need to make that happen. So the ninth match was actually not bad. It was Melina versus Kamille for the women's tag team titles. Kamille was, of course, physically dominant early. Melina worked the shoulder of Kamille, and Melina bit her in order to escape a submission, which I thought was pretty funny when it happened. And Kamille just wins with the spear, so Melina has been built up once again to be killed again, which is, to be quite honest, is the right decision. There is no reason for Melina to be winning titles right now. So Kamille continues to win. Everything's worked out fine. So the show, on a scale of, if I was to do a scale of 1 to 10, I would say it's probably a solid 5. Most of the stuff I didn't care for, but there were things that I thought were good. I thought Mickie James and Kiera Hogan was very good. Tom Latimer versus Nick Aldis is very good. La Rebellion versus the End was very good. Kamille and Melina was okay. Rhett Titus and Austin Aries was okay. But the stuff that I did not like, anything that involves Titus, anything that involves Judas, I could have done completely and totally without it. Colby Corino too. Come on, get the fuck out of here with this kid. Until Colby Corino put on some body weight and he actually looks like an adult male, keep him off television. He's super skinny. Super skinny. I understand you want to give him. I think that's probably why he got. I know he was near an NXT contract, maybe even had one. But I know it's got to be an experience thing to why they didn't keep him around, even though I know his dad is a coach at NXT. It's got to be weird when they cut your son, isn't it? That had to be weird. That had to be a weird conversation to have. Hey, we're going to fire your kid. It's probably something like, hey, he needs to go get some more experience. How old is he, Colby Corino? I'm pretty sure somebody listening to this knows how old he is. In any event, the show was okay, I guess. They've had better episodes of Powerrr than they had of this. So, but they did knock some things out of the park. There were some things that were very well professionally done, very good. I love the jazz stuff. Foley's involvement was okay, even though he didn't do much. Some pretty cool surprises with Dango and Matt Cardona. So, it was a fun, enjoyable show. Let's put it like that. It was mostly enjoyable. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe, donate if you can, and continue to support the show. and I'll talk to you guys later.
Old non-aggression. Once that lesson sets in, you'll see a session. But you got an affection for no progression, regression.